Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. Rowe. We're taking a look at Algebra 2A. This is Lesson 10. We're going to focus on numbers 1 and 2. So let's take a look at each, and I'm going to show you how to walk through each one so you can do a little bit on that on those in that lesson. So here is the first example. So this is like number 1. This is a garden. We got a garden measuring 12 meters by 10 meters. It's going to have a pedestrian pathway installed all the way around it, and that's going to increase the area up to 224 square meters. So we want to know what the width of the pathway is going to be. So anytime I get a problem like this, my first instinct tells me to draw a picture so I can see exactly what I'm doing. So you probably might want to do that too. So I've got a garden. It's a rectangular garden. I know this rectangle is a little exaggerated, but it's fine. And then we're going to have a pathway put around it. So there is my pathway. Now the question asks, what is the width of the pathway going to be? So that's where we're going to need to define our variable. So in this case, we're looking for this width right here, x. And now that width will be shared all the way around. So that's going to be x. And all the way around, we're going to have an x. Now we're going to use that to help us build our equations here in just a minute. All right, so now we're told in the problem that the garden measures 12 by 10. So we've got a 12 meter here and a 10 meter here. We're going to use that also when we build our equation. So we need to figure out, because we're trying to find area. Remember, area equals length times width. We're going to need to figure out the length and the width. And so we're going to use what we've got here to help us. So now what I've got right here is I've got an x, and I have another one over here. So that's 2x. I have the distance from here to here. I know that's 12. So 2x plus 12 is the length of the garden. Now what's the width? Similar issue here. I've got an x here. I've got an x here. And the distance from here to here is the same as that, which is 10. So on the width, I've got 2x's plus 10. And now I know some things here now. I know the length is 2x plus 12. I know the width is 2x plus 10. So I can multiply those two things. And what do I get when I multiply those? Well, that's going to be the new area. The new area is 224. So that's going to have to equal 224. So now our job from here is to just figure out what x is by using our quadratic methods that we've learned already. So let's take a look over here what we're going to do. So we've got 2x plus 12. And then we've got 2x plus 10. Equals 224. So we're going to use FOIL or one of those methods to figure out how to multiply these. So first, I'm going to use FOIL. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times 10, that's 20x. 12 times 2x, that's 24x. And then 12 times 10 is 120. Now 120, if you remember, that would be the old area of just the garden. And that's going to have to equal 224. We're going to simplify this a little bit by combining those terms right there. 4x squared plus 44x plus 120 equals 224. Now, what I'm going to do here, and you should consider doing this as you do the work as well, is I'm going to try to simplify this as much as possible before I do anything else. So what I'm going to notice right here, or what I do notice, is that each of these terms, 4, 44, 120, and even 224, they're all divisible by 4. So I can divide everything by 4. And that's just to make life easier. So then we're going to end up with x squared plus 11x plus 30 equals 24. And if you don't, you don't have to do this in your head. You can actually get your calculator out. 224 divided by 4. And you see we're going to get 56. So that's going to be 56. All right, so now it's a quadratic. So for all quadratics, the first thing you want to do is you want to move everything to the same side. So we're going to subtract 56 to move everything to the same side. And that's going to give us x squared minus 11x, or excuse me, plus 11x minus 26 equals 0. Now from this point, you've got a couple of options. You can always use the quadratic formula, any of those other methods that we've showed you, completing the square, whatever you want to do. My suggestion is you factor. So I'm going to look for factors of 26 that do this, subtract to equal 11. Well, factors of 26 are 13 and 2, and if you subtract 13 minus 2, you get 11. So that's going to be my factors. So we're going to come over here now. And I'm going to build my factors. I've got x with a 13. I've got x with a 2. And those are going to have to equal 0. Now to get the signs, if you don't remember, this is the rule, you look at this sign. That's going to tell you if the signs in your factors over here will be the same or different. Subtraction means different, sum means the same. So since this is a subtraction sign, one has to be positive, one has to be negative. Now to determine which, we look at this one. This goes in front of the bigger factor. So that means this will be plus 13 minus 2. So now, what do? We set each factor equal to 0. And we solve for x. Well, this one will give me negative 13. This one will give me positive 2. Negative 13, we can't have negative lengths, so that one doesn't make sense. So that will be my answer. So the length will be 2 meters. So that's how you solve that first example. Draw the picture, write all that out with binomials, multiply it, and then simplify. All right, so this is the second one, the consecutive integer problem. So what does it mean to have consecutive negative integers? Well, that means that you have one integer, and the next one will be x plus 1. Now, you could do x minus 1 if you wanted to, but let's not make life too difficult here. We're going to use plus 1. So it says the product. Product means I'm going to multiply. So I'm going to multiply x times x plus 1, and I'm going to get 600. Because it says it is 600, is means equals. So now we're going to distribute. So that gives us x squared plus x equals 600. Again, it's a quadratic formula. So we're going to move everything to one side. And so that's going to give me x squared plus x minus 600 equals 0. I'm going to factor 600 and find factors that will equal 1. All right, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to play around with these factors. So here is 600. I know 60 times 10 is 600, but 60 minus 10 does not equal 1. Remember, I want one that subtracts to be 1. So I'm going to use some other factors here. So what are some factors of 60? So that's 5 times 12. Okay, and this is 5 times 2. And there's lots of ways you can do this. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. But here are some factors. Now look at this. If I multiply these two together, I get 25. If I multiply these two together, I get 24. Now, if we take a look, 25 times 24, just to check, that equals 600. And if I subtract them, I know I'm going to get 1. So that's the factors I want to use. So I'm going to come back over here, and my factors of 600 that I want to use will be 25 and 24. And that's using factoring tree, something you probably saw in elementary school. And so my factors will be x with a 25, x with a 24, and they're going to equal 0. Remember what I said last time. Same or different, so subtraction means different. So one will be negative, one will be positive. This will be the one that goes in front of the bigger factor. Okay, so we're going to set each factor equal to 0. And this one will give me x equals, let me move this down a little bit. I don't know why I didn't give myself some space there. Mr. Rowe not thinking ahead, I guess. So this first one will give me negative 25. The second one will give me positive 24. Now go back to the prompt. It says consecutive negative integers. So that means I throw this one out. So my two consecutive integers, so this is the answer, will be negative 25. And what's the next consecutive negative integer? Negative 24. Because right here we plus 1. Negative 25 plus 1, 24. So there is the final answer. So I hope this helps you with numbers 1 and 2. If you're still struggling with those, please let me know in a teacher message or make an appointment for a help session.